Unless you have been living under a rock for the last 9 years or so, you undoubtedly know Donald Trump. And so I'm going to give you some words and phrases that people use to describe him so you can better understand conversations about the election and politics and Donald Trump a little bit better. Let's get started. Our first 3 words are synonyms. They are controversial, divisive, and polarizing. Controversial, divisive, and polarizing all mean that something causes a lot of debate and disagreement. They can refer to actions, statements, or topics that people have very strong or different opinions about. For example, Donald Trump is very controversial, divisive, and polarizing because his actions and words make some people support him very strongly, while others disagree with him just as strongly. And other things that might be described as controversial, divisive, or polarizing include topics like politics, religion, or a new law that many people argue about. Now, specifically with the word polarizing, this means something that divides people in 2 opposite groups with opposite views and opinions. Think about the North Pole and the South Pole, which are on opposite ends of the Earth. When something is polarizing, it pushes people to the opposite sides, just like the opposite poles of the Earth. Now, like I mentioned, many people support Trump and many people despise Trump. So we are going to look at how these 2 different groups of people view and describe him. Let's start with his supporters. We'll get to the haters later. So many supporters of Donald Trump often call him a patriot. A patriot is someone who loves and fights for their country. And supporters of Trump call him a patriot because they believe he loves America so much and wants to protect it. Some historical patriots include people like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Abraham Lincoln. So Trump supporters are putting him into this same category of American patriots. They also describe Trump as a fighter. After the famous assassination attempt earlier this year, many people have called Trump a fighter because they think he doesn't give up easily. And ever since then, Trump has used the slogan, "Fight, fight, fight," to motivate and encourage his supporters to vote for him and fight for America.
Fight, fight, fight has become the theme of this campaign.
Next is the word charismatic. Charismatic. Someone who is charismatic has a lot of charisma or energy or is very charming and good with people. And Trump is definitely very charismatic because he is good at talking to crowds and getting people to follow him. And this word can really be used to describe anyone with high energy and is good at talking to people. For example, I would like to think that I am a pretty charismatic teacher. And our next word is outspoken. If you are outspoken, you speak what is on your mind. This is a great adjective to describe someone who says exactly what they think. They are very vocal, they are very outspoken. And people say that Trump is outspoken because he always says exactly what he thinks, even if it's not polite. And a lot of times Trump's supporters will say, "I like Trump because he tells it like it is." In other words, he is very honest, he is very direct, he is very outspoken. Next is the word unconventional. Convention means like tradition, and so unconventional means different from tradition, or doing things in a new and unique way. And Trump is very unconventional because he does and says things very differently from traditional or normal politicians. The word unconventional can also be used in many other situations too. For example, one common collocation with unconventional is an unconventional approach, or a different way of doing something than how other people normally do it. So we could say something like, "My English teacher has an unconventional approach. She actually makes us do the teaching instead of her." That could be considered an unconventional approach or a new way of doing something. And one thing that makes Trump really unconventional is his populist approach. A populist is someone who appeals to ordinary people who feel that the high, powerful politicians don't really listen to them and understand their needs. And in my last video, remember when I told you that Trump always says he wants to drain the swamp?
We have begun to drain the the swamp.
He wants to get rid of those high, powerful politicians and replace them with normal people like himself. This is a populist approach because he is trying to show everyday normal people that he is on their side and he can relate to them, opposed to all of those other people in Washington, D.C. who are really detached and don't understand the needs of ordinary, everyday Americans. Or in another example, people often say that Trump's populist rhetoric, or the way that he talks, resonates with regular, everyday American voters. Since Trump often talks in basic, simple words, that is one way that he reaches out and communicates with regular people in the US. And before we move on to what Trump's critics or his haters say, I want to remind you, if you have found this video helpful so far, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English with me. Now, for as many supporters as Trump has, he has an equal amount of critics or haters, which is a slang word for people who criticize or dislike you. And one word the haters use to describe Trump is a fraud. The word fraud means someone who lies or tricks others, usually to get something for themselves. And some people say that Trump is a fraud because he is dishonest and he lies about his success. And Trump actually uses this word too, but for a very different reason. He often refers to voter fraud, which is cheating in an election. For example, if someone votes twice or they vote using a different name than their own, they are committing voter fraud. They are lying about their vote. And to this day, Trump still claims that the 2020 election was full of voter fraud, which caused him to lose. And next, many of Trump's opponents attack him, saying he is a convicted felon. To convict someone means to find someone guilty in a trial. And a felon is someone who has committed a felony or a really big crime. So critics commonly refer to Trump as a convicted felon because he has been found guilty in several legal cases. And next we have the word authoritarian. Authoritarian. The term authoritarian is used when a leader is seen as wanting too much power and ignoring important rules to keep the power balanced. And critics call Trump authoritarian because of his attempts to overturn the 2020 election and his frequent dismissal of opposing views as fake news. These actions reflect Trump's desire to keep the power and also control information, both of which are traits of an authoritarian leader. Now, similar to authoritarian, we have the words fascist and fascism. Fascist is the person, and fascism is a system of government.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
Fascist leaders usually control many aspects of the people's lives, demand complete loyalty, and use fear to maintain power. They also do not allow disagreement or criticism, which is a common trait of Trump. He really doesn't like when people talk bad about him or criticize him. Okay, and our last word is narcissist, which is a person, and narcissistic. Narcissistic, which is the adjective. A narcissist refers to someone who only cares about himself, believes they are very important, crave admiration and attention, and talk about themselves a lot. So, of course, critics say that Trump is a narcissist. He is narcissistic because he talks a lot about himself, he does not handle criticism well, and has compared himself to really famous American heroes like Abraham Lincoln.
Not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And you can use this word in other situations to negatively describe other people. For example, if you have a friend who is really self-centered or arrogant, they're always talking about themselves, then you can say they are pretty narcissistic. So there you have it, 14 words and phrases that many people use to describe Donald J. Trump. What do you all think about Donald Trump? I know he is very controversial and polarizing, so I would love to hear your views on him. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to my channel so you can keep expanding your English vocabulary with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!